The figure skating competition at the 1987 Olympic Festival is over. Skeptics doubted whether skaters could give quality performances in an off-season, but these youngsters rose to the occasion and proved them all wrong, demonstrating a fortitude that certainly champions are made of. Well, as the North team, winners of the gold medal tonight, accept their medals out at center ice. It was an absolutely phenomenal performance all weekend long. I suppose, David, it began yesterday afternoon with the women's short program and the pairs short, and it just built and built and built to Brian Boitano tonight.
Well, there was some great skating in all four events. I think the quality of skating was outstanding through the both days.
When you think of the routines overall, what stands out in your minds?
Well, Karen Kadavi came up big in the short program. She had a few problems in the long program, but a tremendous short program. Jill Trenery had some difficulties through both the short and the long, but still showed that gutsy determination. Gillian Waxman and Todd Wagner led the South to a pairs victory with an especially popular long program. Susie Semenek and Scott Gregory stretched everyone's imagination with their unique free dance. It's too bad you couldn't see things like this in real competition. It was tremendous. Katie Keeley and Joe Miro knocked them dead with their death spin. They had a very athletic performance, and the crowd gave them a standing ovation, as many of these skaters got in the last 2 days. And Brian Boitano, always taking risks, tried to become the first person in history to hit a quadruple, but still a superb performance throughout.
Well, the medal results, it was the North team by less than 2 points over the East, and then came the West. Well, it was an absolutely glorious weekend of figure skating, David. I suppose it's kind of a grand way now. The skaters will take another month and a half off, and then it's on to preparation for the United States team and preparation for the Olympic Games in Calgary.
Well, you think about it, this is the off season for these skaters, and for the quality of skating to be this high, it was tremendous.
It was an interesting scoring system, too, all weekend long. Gone was the one-on-one scoring we've seen in the times past, and in its place came a team scoring concept. Judy Slatke, it was a kind of a scoring that really let not only the teams but the individuals show some rather creative routines, to say the least.
Boy, that's for sure. We had so many creative programs, especially Semenek and Gregory, of course, and risks that were taken because of the judging system. It was available to take those risks. Brian Boitano trying the quadruple. But I think the most creative risk of all was the United States Figure Skating Association officials, judges, the skaters, the coaches, everybody deciding to do this judging system, and it was magic.
While Judy's there, our 5-time national ice dancing champion, how good are Scott Gregory and Susan Semenek as you look ahead now to Calgary?
Well, I think they're magic. They certainly have lit on fire here. And I really think that they've got a lot of international experience now, and they're beginning to use that a little bit more. Before, they were fighting a bit with Roka and Adair for the national championship. Now they've only got one thing in mind, and that's the Olympic Games.
I really think that the best performance we saw, and certainly in terms of crowd reaction here, partner, was Katie Keeley and Joseph Miro. They electrified the crowd. And, of course, you've got Jillian Waxman and Todd Wagner. So as far as the pairs competition, everybody's shooting for the Carruthers, who have since, of course, retired, Kitty and Peter.
That's true. Boy, Katie and Joe were fantastic tonight.
And as far as the men's competition, we saw Brian.
Gone was the pressure intensity of the one-on-one scoring system, and in its place was an esprit de corps never before seen in figure skating. And I think it comes at a time when the United States must now come together as one. After all, that's what this Olympic Festival is all about, and what a time for it to happen as we begin to roar ahead. The Calgary Stampede, I think, is officially underway, the race for the 1988 Olympic Games. And I think from what we have seen this weekend from our figure skaters, this team is one that is ready.
That's right. You know, sometimes out there on the road and at home when you're training and for the international competitions, when you're in the little small towns in Europe and you're far away from home, I think they can think back to the Olympic Festival and remember the excitement of all their team members here and all of the people here in Greensboro. It's been great.
Don't go away, Judy. One more. I'll put you on the spot as far as the ladies. That great line of female champions from Peggy Fleming, of course, Linda Fradiani, and, of course, Dorothy Hamill. We've got Tiffany Chin, a little bit of a head case, perhaps, as far as Tiffany is concerned. Debbie Thomas won the Olympic Festival and Jill Trenery out of Minnetonka, Minnesota. Karen Kadavi, how do you evaluate the women as you go into Calgary?
Well, needless to say, we have the best depth in the ladies figure skating throughout the world. We always have. I think we've probably tipped our hand a little bit by liquefying our ladies event and having so many champions. But, you know, that's what the Americans do. I think we can fight through that, and I think we can win that gold. I don't know who it's going to be, though. I wouldn't dare predict that.
Okay, Phil, Judy, David, thank you very much. A nice look at figure skating and a good sense of, I think, what's upcoming for us come Calgary. Also, we're going to go now to diving. We haven't seen what we promised yet, the women's 10-meter platform diving. And again, Michelle Mitchell, the Olympic silver medalist, is the one who is heavily favored in this area. But she is being challenged in this particular situation by some young divers, not the veterans, but the young divers. They're coming along. We're going to take a look at Michelle and see how she did in competition. She finished third in the springboard. She finished third to Wendy Lucero and Megan Nair. We're going to see her in the 10-meter platform right now. Let's take a look.
Welcome to women's 10-meter platform diving here at the Candler Swim Club in Raleigh, North Carolina. John Neighbor with Phil Boggs alongside. You are looking at the today and tomorrow of U.S. diving. Jenna Weiss, the young 15-year-old, is sitting on the left. Michelle Mitchell is sitting on the right. Michelle, the reigning queen in U.S. diving, and Michelle Mitchell was our second qualifier coming into the contest. Right now, these are the scores that they had in their preliminary rounds on Friday. Michelle Mitchell, 465, a dominant position. Jenna Weiss in second place. Lori Rizzuto, the qualified third, had to pull out of the contest because she tore a tendon, tricep muscle in some platform competition. We're now watching Mary Ellen Clark getting ready for her sixth round dive, an arm stand double somersault in pike position.
John, the divers must show control in the arm stand. That's all.
In control they demonstrated. In the water she goes. Mary Ellen Clark is working towards a master's degree in physical education at Ohio State, and at 5 feet 1 inches of height, she is the shortest athlete competing in this platform contest. You hear the judges'
scores? Thus far, John, she's having a great final competition. That arm stand that she uses was only 2.4 degree of difficulty. So even though you stand on your hands 33 feet up in the air at 10 meters, that was not a difficult dive.
Now up Kelly Hill, who's currently in 5th position. She's 18 years of age. She's going to be doing a backward dive, 2.5 somersault, pike position. Back 2.5, pike position.
Now that dive carried a 2.9 degree of difficulty. If you remember, the scores are multiplied by that degree of difficulty. It's very important, but that wasn't a good dive. So even though she used the harder dive, she'll drop down in the standings.
I think you raise a good point, Phil, that the contest in diving is not to get the best scores from the judges, but to get the most points at the end of the contest. So the more difficult dives you run a risk of getting a ton of points if you do it well, or losing a ton of points if you do it poorly. Darcy Dominic getting ready for a forward 3.5 somersault in tuck. She's 17 years old from Boca Raton, Florida. Born in Pittsburgh, PA.
Little over rotation. That's 3.5 somersaults.
Darcy Dominic is also into gymnastics and cheerleading in high school. She's 17 years of age, 5 feet 5 inches tall. The crowd not really appreciating the 5s and 5s and a half she got from the judges.
Well, what the crowd appreciates is the fact that she did 3.5 somersaults, but the judges don't care that it was a difficult dive or it's an easy dive. They're supposed to judge only the performance, and the performance was not up to par.
And the degree of difficulty will reward her for trying the difficult dive. Lisa Trefsker from Cincinnati, Ohio, at 21 years of age.
This is an inward 2.5 somersaults in the pike position. She'll somersault towards the platform. And that was a very good dive. Lisa comes from a diving family. Her older brother was an All-American at Ohio State.
So Lisa Trefsker, who majors in fine arts, graduate of Walnut Hills High School in Cincinnati, Ohio, where she played volleyball and basketball. She now trains with Charlie Casuto at the Red Roof Inn Divers team. You're now looking at Tara Justice. Tara's preparing to dive a back 1.5 somersault in layout position.
This is another one of Lisa's teammates at the Red Roof Inn Divers. And another youngster in the competition. She's only 16 years old. You see the youngsters break into the competition on platform before springboard. Platform is an easier event mechanically, even though it's difficult from standpoint of the height. It's 1.5 somersaults backwards, that's all. But somersaulting in that straight or layout position is very difficult, and that was an excellent dive.
7.5 from the judges. So now we're getting ready to watch Bonnie Pankoff, who's currently in 3rd position.
And this is a difference, again, in difficulty of dive. We just saw back 1.5 somersaults. This is back 2.5 somersaults, carrying a degree of difficulty of 2.9 versus the 2.4. Was terrific. Bonnie is a good diver, but an inconsistent diver. Thus far today, she's having a great competition for 6 rounds.
There are 8 rounds in women's 10-meter platform.
You can see her pull into a very tight pike position and straighten out completely for the entry. And then very little splash on the entry, and that's what the judges are looking for.
4 7.5s, a couple of 8s, and 8.5. 66 points on the dive, almost 67 points, and you can see she's pretty pleased with her performance.
That's one of her teammates right there congratulating her, even though she's performing in the same competition.
Here comes the youngster, 15 years old, 5 feet 3 inches tall, out of Silver Spring, Maryland, from a very athletic family. Her dad was on the Olympic gymnastics team, won a gold medal at the Pan Ams. Mom, Margie, was a national YMCA champion, and her sister's a champion ice skater. Very talented family. Back 2.5. Pike position.
And she's faltered this afternoon. She was not in our top 5, but she was only 13 points out of second going into that dive. So a good dive could have put her right back in contention, but that was bad. She didn't finish the rotation at all.
And the judges agree, 4.5s, a 3.5, and a 5. High and low will be tossed out. 36 points on that dive with a degree of difficulty 2.9. That really should be a lot higher for her. Coming up, top qualifier, defending champion, platform diver of the year in the world, 1985. Olympic silver medalist doing an inward 3.5 somersault tuck position, 3.2. Her coach says if she's going to blow any dive, this is the one that's most likely to give her trouble.
But he also said she's regained her confidence from 1985, where she was World Dive of the Year. In 1986, she had a bad World Championships. And that was great. So it looks like her confidence is back, and she is diving well.
She's heading for a high-scoring round. 8 dives total. She's completed 6.
She had her second highest personal total ever in the preliminaries. 3.5 somersaults inward, the most difficult inward optional used in competition in the world by men or women.
And she's got herself 8s and 7s from the judges. 74 points for that. 320 is her score at the end of the 6th round. We've got 2 more rounds of championship diving off 10-meter platform when we come back.
PGA Championship coming up, West Palm Beach, Florida, Jack Nicklaus's stomping ground. Just a quick thing about the platform diving, and I think it's important to reiterate. Every one of those divers, the first time they get out on that platform, they are terrified. So there is fear attached to it. And the other thing is there's pain attached to it, because it really does hurt when you hit the water.
Sue Krabari, by the way, who's in contention, was the last person to qualify in the festival field after finishing 20th in the preliminaries. Now let's go back down to the diving, see who gets the gold.
Welcome back to the 8th and final round of women's 10-meter platform competition. The standings after the first 7 rounds, it's Michelle Mitchell's show, 405 points plus change. The rest of the field is rather tightly bunched in the low 300s. If we look at Michelle's 7th round dive,
it's back 1.5 somersaults with 3.5 twists. Most difficult twisting dive used by a woman in competition today, and it's great, John. Right straight in.
In fact, the judges gave her 5 9s and 2 8s, so that was an outstanding performance. Now on